Case study: human median nerve and internal space mapping and object modelling. Subject of study is human sensory usage of their hands. Upon scan of typical human nervous system, an anomaly was observed. A median nerve of disproportionate size ran from the neck spinal cord, down each arm and to the thumb, index and middle fingers of each hand. This nerve bundle is huge, equivalent in size and complexity to the human optic nerve behind each eye. Hypothesis is that median nerve's complexity is related to tool use and fine motor control. But another interesting ability was discovered. They can see with their hands. Test subject, Jennifer, human female. Problematic test subject, kind of a bitch, but proved useful for testing. Also useful for human slang phrases, annotated as such. Test subject was led to the room by the severely dented and mangled human handling robot. What is this room? What are we going to do this time? I swear, you walking toaster, if this is another "ooh, can the monkey girl figure it out this time" test, I'm going to wreck your stupid little face. Even more. The human handling robot was in need of some serious repair at this point. See case study, improvised weaponry and third fulcrum any tool, swing for the fence's attack methodology. The room was black, with sound-absorbing coating on all surfaces. There were obstacles scattered across the floor and ceiling, at stub toe, bang shin, and bonk head heights. Jennifer side-eyed the robot with a glare. "Ooh, it's gonna hurt this time, buddy." Anomaly, robot glitch, appeared to shy away and wince. Investigate unprogrammed anthropomorphic reaction at later time. Jennifer glanced around the room, with that particular frantic eye movement found to be mapping the room behaviour. See, stitching together surroundings in mind through limited eye focal apertures. An amazing study. The robot turned and locked the door, and held up a complex key in front of Jennifer. The robot disassembled the key into 3 separate parts in front of Jennifer, who watched with pretended disinterest, but those keen eyes were not fooling anyone. The robot then threw one key piece in one corner, tossed another onto a high shelf in another corner, and the third piece it dropped into a container holding many other objects of similar size but random shapes, and stirred the contents around. Jennifer made a face. Not so hard. Hey! As the lights turned off, rendering the space completely dark, and the robot spun her in circles several times, before quickly backing away to stand by the door. The test began. Scanners and sensors measured every action Jennifer took, paying particular attention to her hands. She was at first uncertain of her location, still disorientated a bit from the spinning, a known human weakness. See inner ear semicircular canal fluid agitation. She stood still in place, waiting for her canal fluids to settle, then reached out with her hands, slowly spinning in a circle. We understand this to be benchmarking behaviour. Jennifer had a memory of the room's layout in her mind still from previous eye scan, but had to figure out her position in that room again. She did this with her hands, reaching out and bumping against the obstacles. Then her hands slid along the obstacle edges to sense its edges and corners. Study Note's eyeball scan map of the room is not 100% perfect, as she struck her head on a bonk head obstacle. As she stood there, rubbing the side of her head, she began to talk to herself. She was observed to alter her voice to one mimicking a wren from an Earth TV cartoon show she requested in her holding cell. "Oh, what I'm going to do to you." The robot actually twitched, and Jennifer's head also twitched and snapped at an angle at the slight noise. A creepy smile spread across her mouth. That noise seemed to have given Jennifer the location of the door. Clever monkey girl. As her hands touched more and more obstacles, her movement through the room got more and more certain. Finally, her hand touched the wall of the space, the apparent goal of her initial search. She paused with her hand on the wall, smile spreading at the minor victory. She started speaking in a calm, drawn-out sigh with a slight Spanish accent. "I am so angry. First, I'm going to tear your speaker off." Her hand gently touched the wall as she rapidly walked around the room to the first corner where a piece of the key was tossed. Her toe bumped the key piece and she paused. "Yeah, that is what I'm going to do." She crouched down and felt around before picking up the key piece. The keypiece was fidgeted with in her hands, turning several ways. This was found to be the hand's 3D modelling, the shape of the object in her mind. One hand treading the wall still, her calm, angry voice continued. "And then I'm going to gouge your eye sensors out." As she made her way around the room to the other side, where she remembered the other key was tossed, in complete darkness, she flipped the piece of the key she had in the air with the other hand, catching it repeatedly in little baseball tosses while walking. "Yep, that is what I am going to do." Jennifer observed to have precise hand key locations tracked in her mind, practically seeing it without needing to see it. She stopped directly under the shelf. How Jennifer knew the exact location of the shelf on the other side of the room is testament to initial brief eye scanning and Matt's memory. Human minds are terrifying. See, well, all of the case studies. She glanced blindly at the robot by the door and said calmly, "Yeah, you're scared, huh?" Note, this was after walking 3/4 around the room. Her glaring in the correct direction of the robot indicates she was tracking its location the entire time, with zero feedback. The shelf was high, so Jennifer had to jump to reach anything on it. "Next, I'm going to," she said as she jumped and swiped blindly at the shelf, sending the piece of the key flying to the centre of the room. She landed in a half disappointed, and made a motion with her arms, saying, "Tear your arms out of the sockets!" She got on her hands and knees and began feeling around for the key part in the direction she heard it land. "And you want to know what else?" She found the other keypiece quickly and said, "I'm gonna hit ya!" slamming the newly found keypiece into the floor with a thump. Jennifer was silent for a time while she felt around, refamiliarizing her location in the room after searching on the floor. She then alarmingly walked straight to the bin holding the last part of the key. Her hand reached into the mixed container of parts and started swimming around. Sensors focused intently on the hand in the bin. This is the case study root purpose, to learn just how. The hand briefly held an object, its 3 main fingers of the median nerve group flitted this way and that way around it, and quickly the 3D model in Jennifer's mind determined, nope, that's not it, based off the memory of what the keypiece looked like. She dropped the object and stirred around for something different. After only 3 grab and examine tries, the back of her thumb grazed the keypiece, and that was all it took. Her hand sensed the metal of the keypiece, and like a predator, the hand flipped over, ignoring all other parts in the way, and immediately grabbed the keypiece and pulled it out. Incredible. Holding the keypiece up in front of her blind eye, she resumed speaking, "And you're gonna fall." Jennifer held the 3 keypieces in her hand, rolling and tumbling this way that. At one point she paused and smiled as if it somehow clicked in her mind, and she slid the 3 keypieces together in 2 fluid movements. Again, note that test subject was completely unable to see any of this. All actions were done with only her sense of touch, and keen knowledge of exactly where and how her hands were positioned while holding the objects, and the memory of what the key looked like, and how it was observed to come apart. Observe this assembly just once. Horrifyingly skilled tool usage and manipulation exhibited. As she walked to the door and robot, she calmly continued her little skit to amuse herself. "And I'm gonna look down," she sighed tiredly. She reached the door and felt around for a keyhole. Final test, there was no keyhole. Her hands scanned the entire door and outside frame, and learned rather quickly there was no place for the key. Her chin dropped to her chest. Arms hung limp in weary despair. The key in her right hand twirled around like a butterfly knife for a bit. Note, as if she held that tool for years. See, new tool, neural plasticity. Finally coming to rest in a sturdy, stabby screwdriver grip, and turned slowly to the robot. "And I'm gonna laugh," she stated, with a slow, calm, resigned wariness. At this point we realised a huge mistake in test setup. See, never give a hostile human a metal, well, anything. Scanner and sensors in the room were quickly turned off. The test was complete. We really did not want to document what Jennifer proceeded to do to the robot. Already possessed voluminous case studies, improvised weaponry and tools. It was clear by this point that test subject had the room fully mapped, had the robot and all its vulnerable parts fully modelled, all in her little nightmare fuel of a brain. Summary. Undetermined why anomalous median nerve and brain internal mapping and modelling was evolved to such a high degree in human species, no logical reason presents itself. Theory. Just to give us nightmares? Subnote. Inquiry into why 1990s kids' cartoons were quite so terrifying. Alarm. Realization. How are we going to get the key back from Jennifer? And also, all the robot parts. We see she already made a light in there. This could be bad.